want to talk about Europe and its censorship regime. Because one of the things he says in that video is he wants to work with President Trump, and that because of America's robust free speech laws, it has made the last few years incredibly difficult for a company like Facebook because he didn't have the backing of the American government. As a matter of fact, they were coercing Facebook and Meta to become more censorious. Now, you see this, it's just breaking right now, is that European MPs are now calling for stricter rules against Elon. They want to go on the attack against Elon because he's exerting force. Now, let's take this abroad. You and I were talking yesterday about Tommy Robinson, somebody I don't know, somebody that you do know. To the outsider, it appears that this is part of this European, this stricture, this force against free speech in the EU. And I understand that Tommy Robinson is a complicated figure. Sometimes he can be his own worst enemy. But it does, from an outsider's view, seem like he has been restricted in the thing. He's getting punished for being a loud and proud Briton. And, what is the free speech culture in the UK right now? We're seeing very terrifying videos of people having police come to their homes because they posted something on Facebook, right, that they weren't supposed to about migrants or the like. Explain it to us. How does Facebook, and then connect the dots. How does this news from Facebook, how does this apply to the UK? Are we seeing an expansion, or is this going to be a World War III transatlantic from a free speech perspective, of course?
It's a huge question, and in the very few hours that we've had since the Zuckerberg announcement this morning, these are the type of questions that we're mulling over, that we're trying to figure out the answers to. Of course, European members of Parliament, the European Commission, all of these bureaucrats, and the entire vast operation that has worked for so long to try and tamp down on people's free speech, they will absolutely be having a freak out right now. There's no doubt about it. I worked in Brussels. I worked in Strasbourg. I know all of these people very well. They will be in a full-on meltdown over the fact that ordinary people might get to say what they think once again, without being tamped down on, without their accounts being deleted, restricted, suspended, all of the things that have happened to me, by the way. The irony is, just last week, I got 3 strikes in a row on my Facebook page telling me that I'm about to lose it because, some fact checker, may have been Lead Stories, may have been another one that they used, disagreed with my framing of a story in some way, shape or form. So I look forward to the end of that regime, but the Brussels apparatus, the Davos apparatus certainly won't. As it pertains specifically to the United Kingdom, look, if I were in the UK today, I suspect I would already be behind bars for some of the things that I share on social media. It's not a joke. I am not putting my tongue in my cheek when I say that. I'm not exaggerating. I truly believe that to be the case. And whenever I talk to people back home, they tend to agree with me. They say, Raheem, you are one of the most spicy people online. There's absolutely no way the authorities would let you get away with that stuff here. And, this applies doubly, triply, quadruply to somebody like Tommy Robinson. Now, like you say, Tommy can and has been one of his own worst enemies. He would tell you that. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. But what is at the heart of the things that he posts and the things that he shares is his love for his country and his willing intent to try and shine a light on these, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Muslim grooming and rape gangs, scandals which have been going on for 2 decades now plus in the United Kingdom. But because a comma might be in the wrong place, or an I isn't dotted, or a T isn't crossed in some of his posts, the authorities use that as a cudgel by which to beat him with. He, as far as they are concerned, is one of those grubby, working class, deplorable garbage types who shouldn't actually be able to have their say. So, while there can be arguments about the things that he's done and the way he's gone about them, you have to bear in mind at its core what this is about. To answer your broader question, look, we have a newly elected Labour, left wing of the Democrats government in the United Kingdom. They will resist what Mark Zuckerberg is doing, what Donald Trump is bringing back to Washington, D.C., and of course are already resisting what Elon Musk is doing, to the point where yesterday they said they may even sever the United Kingdom's national security agreements with the United States if Donald Trump agrees with Elon Musk on this stuff. That is not small beer. That is a fundamental reorientation of the geopolitical order. If Labour want to reorient and tie themselves more up with Brussels and perhaps even more up with Beijing, yes, there may be, as you say, some transatlantic, I don't know, warfare might be a strong word, but some irreversible friction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really, I mean, you brought up a number of really good points there, Raheem. I, for one, am personally in the camp that America should be exerting its economic and military. Maybe it's just leverage. I don't mean actual, kinetic warfare here, but, hey, we've got troops stationed all across the world. We help defend Europe via NATO. There are levers that we can pull to, instead of exporting the LGBTQ flag at our embassies and ensuring that the censorship regime is alive and well with our transatlantic partners, is to say, hey, instead of that, we're actually going to defend free speech, and we're going to defend nations that protect the free speech of its countries. Because it occurs to me, Raheem, the Tommy Robinson example, and I do want to understand from you more of what the dynamics within Reform and Nigel and Tommy and Elon. I think that's an important conversation. I want to do that next segment. But it occurs to me that what's happening with these grooming gangs is directly tied to the free speech conversation that we're having today. Because if it was more robust, the protections for citizens to speak out, I understand there's a social aspect of this, right, where it becomes, the scarlet letter, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe or whatever, that you don't speak out more broadly, right? I mean, there is a social pressure that it's not necessarily legal. And so you have to deal with that first. But you can only deal with that if the population feels that it has the ability to speak freely. And the fact that there aren't more free speech protections in the UK has led directly to the fact that tens of thousands of young women, I don't know if you have a number. I've heard all kinds of numbers of how many young children have been abused and sexually assaulted and raped in the UK by these gangs. But that is a direct connection. If people had the ability to speak out more profoundly, more boldly, without fear of reprisal, attack, fines, or even imprisonment, little girls would have been saved. They would not have been abused. And so this has a direct impact on the population. 30 seconds, Raheem, your thoughts.
That's exactly right. That's why we started reporting on it back when I used to run Breitbart's London bureau back in 2013 and 2014. I am somebody who most people will realize doesn't actually care about the blowback and the reprisals, bring it on as far as I am concerned. And when you're right, it's tens of thousands of people who have been targeted with this stuff. Then to stay quiet, to not speak would be the great betrayal.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And by the way, for the audience that maybe isn't read in on this, the actual reports of what's happened to these little girls it's so chilling. It's so horrible.